So yesterday's assignment was to finish Delta Math on polars, but also to look at worksheet 20, which from the Unit 5 packet, and to do, was it 4 through 13? Does that sound like the numbers assigned? Okay. Because you don't know how to do parametrics yet, but part of that was vectors, and so I'm going to start by looking at that worksheet. So worksheet 20, you were to do number 4 through 20. 4 said sketch and find the components. I'm actually going to skip that one because that one's very basic. I think if we do one, okay. Okay, maybe that's the only choice I have. How about I change it to say, if you already did it, it's fine. But if I want to review more like what's on the quiz, it would say like north 35 degrees. We could just even go with east, okay? So off of north, 35 degrees towards the east. To do the components, and it's supposed to be 4.3, and you draw it, okay. So there's a sketch. And if you said, if you did it as written, it would have just been 35 here, okay? And then you would have typed 4.3 cosine of 35, 4.3 sine of 35. But on the quiz, it's more likely to be something like this with a direction, okay? If it's off of north 35 towards the east, what is the angle you need off the positive x-axis to find the components? Nobody can tell me? We always have to work off the positive x-axis. If you have gone 35 degrees towards the east from north, what is the rest of this angle in here, guys? 55? Okay. So then to find the components, you are doing 4.3 centimeters times the cosine of 55 degrees. You have to be working with an angle off the positive x-axis, okay? No matter what quadrant you're in, you have to find the number back to the positive x-axis. And then it would be 4.3 sine of 55. And you would be in degree mode and you'd put those numbers down, okay? If you already did the question, you could have used those numbers because I changed it. I'm going to keep going because I'm really not about giving you answers today. I'm about making sure you know the process for the quiz. Find the component form and magnitude. Okay, so when you are given ordered pairs into components, the rule is x2 minus x1, y2 minus y1 to get those components. So from A to B makes this point 1 and this point 2. So we would have negative 6 minus 9 and 13 minus 2. Did somebody already have negative 15 and 11? Did anybody already do this worksheet? Okay, I'm just checking that I didn't make a math mistake. Then how do you find magnitude, guys? Pythagorean theorem. So the magnitude is the square root of x squared plus y squared. And I can't stress enough, please don't worry about the negative because you just end up needing parentheses and most of you forget them and then you end up with wrong answers or errors. So whatever that would come out, square root of 346. Is anybody else getting that number, 18.6? It would be 60 if you round it to the nearest hundredth. I think it says 10th on the quiz. All right, questions on those? That question on the quiz, isn't on this worksheet, but that question on the quiz also asked you to find direction. Which is where you do inverse tangent of y over x, negative 11 over 15. And it also, I put right on the quiz, what quadrant is that in? So what quadrant is negative 11, 15, guys? Left and up would be quadrant 2. So we need to make sure we end up with a quadrant 2 answer. So this is in degrees. So make sure your calculator is in degrees. And then it's inverse tangent 11 over negative 15. The calculator doesn't understand which number is negative, so it comes up with negative 36.3 degrees. How do we change? If it thinks we're down here because it had a positive and a negative and we are really over here, we need to do what? Add 180. So it's 143.7. Okay, it didn't even ask that on your worksheet, but it does on the quiz. So I will review that again on Thursday. We have a review, that's tomorrow, that has another one of those, but I wanted to go over it quick. This is actually not on the quiz, so I will skip this. But you would be doing 215 minus 3 times 6 negative 2, and you're just straight up multiply by 3 and then subtract in order. They're not XY ordered pairs. Adding vectors is also not on the quiz because that section is not on the quiz. But just to review that, it's 4 cosine 76, 4 sine 76, and then 2.5 cosine of, is that say 22, are we going with? And 2.5 sine of 22. And then you add those and you end up with some decimals. And then once you've added those, you do the square root of those to get the resultant magnitude. This should say magnitude of resultant, okay? And then inverse tangent of those, which is going to be a quadrant 1 angle, so you don't have to worry about adding anything. That's what would go here. Is that enough review of that to get the homework done? It's not on the quiz. This is the same. It just ends up that you might need to add 180 here, but see number 7 for how to do that one, okay? You're just doing 18 cosine of 47, 18 sine of 47, 34 cosine of 150, 34 sine of 150. But I think it's going to end up in quadrant 2, so you're going to have to do a little work there to get that. Do we need to talk more about polars or not today? Graphing. This is given in XY. So you can do Pythagorean theorem or use your special right triangles, but it is a multiple choice question. And this one is an r and a theta, so you can do 3 cosine of 5 pi over 6 and 3 sine of 5 pi over 6, and use your unit circle to find those values that would need to be substituted in there. Somebody want me to finish one of those of any kind? Okay, then I'm going to jump to what we're supposed to be spending our time on today, which is reviewing probability. This is the addendum worksheet 3C. There are 10, I'm going to skip number 1. That's not on the quiz, one that complicated. Yes. It would be like 6 multiple choice, 10 questions. You'd have 10 blanks. The first 6, I'll have 4 choices. You do 4 times 4 times 4 times 4, so 4 to the 6th. and then 4 true false, so that would be 2 to the 4th, and you'd get this giant number, but it's not on the quiz. Okay. The sandwich shop offers combo meals with a choice of 1 sandwich, 1 side, and 1 drink. If there are 560 combos available, there are 16 sandwich kinds and 5 drink kinds. How many sides are there? This is like a reverse of what I would ask on the quiz, but when you have combination choices and you just want the total number of choices, you just multiply. So they took 16 sandwiches times 5 drink choices times some number of sides, which I could call X, and they ended up with 560 combinations. So how would we work backwards to find the number of sides? 16 times 5 is 80, I think. So times some unknown is 560. If we divide, don't we get 7? Okay, so it's just working backwards. The one on the quiz is not working backwards. I would tell you there's, 11 sides to pick from. So how many possible combinations are there? You just multiply. It's called the counting principle. All right, Marlena. Oh, permutation or combination and then solve. Marlena must answer 3 out of 8 essay questions. How many ways can she choose 3? Okay. Do we want to count her choosing essay A, B, and C differently than if she does essay B, C, and A in that order? No, it's all the same 3 essays she chose. So out of 8, choose 3 is an NCR question. That, if you don't remember where that button is, it is under, it's a combination, by the way, that's what it's called. I asked that, but it's under math. Arrow over to probability and choose choice 3. Was it 8 and 3, guys? I got 56. All right, Grandview plans to play 6 pieces in their upcoming concert. How many ways can they arrange the order of their performance? Okay. So they're going to play all 6, but the order is going to matter. So we could do 6p6, which is also 6 factorial, or 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. Anybody get an answer? A little louder? Someone else get that? Okay. Number 5, how many ways can a president, vice president, and treasurer be elected from a group of 40 students? We need to count choosing Natalie, Riley, and Elena different than Elena, Riley, and Natalie because they would have a different president. When we count things differently, then order matters. Okay, that's what it means. So out of 40, we are choosing 3 where order matters, or in my brain, it's just 40 times 39 times 38. And I don't know what that is, but I'm going to keep going. Josh must submit 4 paintings as part of an application to art school. In how many, if he has 25 to choose from, in how many ways can he pick 4? Okay. Is this a committee question where the order doesn't matter? Or is this a everyone should count differently question? This is a committee question. It doesn't matter which one he picked first. He's submitting the same 4 pieces. So we just want to do 25C4. If you're not sure, sometimes you can put them both in it and see which one makes sense. I mean, there's not millions of ways to do this because he's just choosing 4. It should be the smaller of the numbers. So 25 C4. I got 12,650. Still a big number, but P would have been bigger. I already forgot. Was it 650? All right, so that was review of permutations and combinations. The next section says choosing a date. This looks like a lot of work. Let's skip that one. We got to figure out prime numbers and stuff. Eric is randomly choosing a card from a standard deck. What is the probability that he chooses a card that is red and a multiple of 3? Well, multiples of 3 in a deck of cards would just be 3, 6, and 9, correct? Okay, but red and a multiple of 3 could be a 3, 6, or 9 from hearts, or a 3, 6, or 9 from diamonds, yes? So that means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards are winners out of 52, which will reduce, but I'm not worried about it. I have a question. If that was an odds question, how would it be different? Because odds are on the quiz. Yes, so 6 winners to 48 losers. That's only if it had said odds, okay? Everybody remember the difference? Okay, it said probability, so this is what we wanted, or the reduced form of that. All right, number 13 says a number 1 through 30 is randomly selected, followed by a letter from the word target. What is the probability of choosing a perfect square, and then the number T? These are independent, so you just multiply. How many perfect squares are there between 1 and 30? 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 3 is 9, 4 times 4 is 16, 5 times 5 is 25. Is that all the perfect squares before 30? Oh, 1? I guess 1 is a perfect square. So 5 out of 30 to be chosen for a perfect square. And how many T's out of this word? Probability of choosing a T would be 2 out of 6, okay? And this will reduce to 1/18th, I think. Did anybody get that? The idea here, though, is that they were independent. It's not like the denominator was decreasing. It's not like, yeah. It's not like when you draw a card, leave it out and then draw another card. This is that. Carter is handing out Valentine cards to his friends. He has 8 Batman and 12 Superman cards and 5 Captain America cards in a bag. What is the probability the first 2 he chooses are Batman? So the chance he picks one out of that's Batman first is 8 out of 25. Did I add that right, guys? But when he goes back to pick one, there's only 7 to pick from and only 24 cards to pick from. Even if he draws them both out at the same time, it doesn't matter. It's without replacement. He can't pull the same one out twice. Is it 7 out of 75 maybe? All right, a bag contains 25 chips, 25 red, 18 blue, 29 yellow. A chip is selected, replaced, and then another chip is chosen. So this is 2 independent. It doesn't matter what you get the first time because you're going to replace it. So blue was 18 out of, did someone add them up? Thank you. And then the second time we put it back, so there's still 72 chips. The chance we pick red is 25 out of 72. Can I just let you guys finish these later? Is that okay? Yellow and then blue, again, with replacement would be 29 out of 72, and blue would be 18 out of 72, which is 1/4. So that one's 29 over, what, 288? 72, 1/4. Maybe? Anybody checking me on that one? Is that a no? Okay, thank you. A box of cheese contains... This seems like not without replacement already, guys. If you have cheese, if you have pizza, do you ever put the piece back? I hope not. A box of pizza contains 3 cheese slices, 7 pepperoni slices, and 5 supreme slices. So how many slices are there? 3 and 7 and 5 is 15. Did I add right? Okay, 15 slices. And find each probability. Cheese and then supreme. So the probability of choosing randomly cheese would be 3 out of 15. But when you go back, now there's only 14 to choose from, and how many are supreme? Yeah, we didn't pick supreme the first time, so there's still 5. All right, I think that's 1/14. 2 pepperonis, what happens there though? The first time is 7 out of 15, but then it goes down to what? 6 pieces left out of 14 to choose from. 2, 3, is that 1/5? I know I'm going quick. Conditional probability. Mason randomly chooses a card from a standard deck of playing cards. What is the probability? It's not an ace given that it's a red card. Okay. Remember, given changes the denominator. If we know it's a red card, how many red cards? Total of 26 red cards. I would not ask a card question like this, but there are 26 red cards. What is the probability that it's not an ace? Okay. He can only pick from the red cards when it says given. Okay, so it's only the red cards. How many aces are red? 2, so that leaves 24 out of 26 are not aces, but are red. That one was tricky, but we do have to know given. I'd like to skip this one. There's not one like that on the quiz, and I don't want to take time to explain it. I'd rather go back and do the polars or something if we have time. That's tricky. Let's finish out this table a little bit. The one on the quiz would have the totals for you. So 30 and 34 is 68 males. 19 and 42 is 61. Did I add that right, guys? What? Oh, here. Yeah, where did I get an 8? Wow. This is 61 though, right? Did I add that one right? Okay, and this would be 53 maybe? And 72, and they should both total 125. I might have that right. All right. So what is the probability a male, we pick a, are asked, what the probability of the male that owns an Android phone? What's the probability we choose a male that owns an Android phone? That means we are only choosing winners out of, the only winners would be those 34 out of the whole total of 125. Now, we have not used this notation, so it's not on the quiz this way, but that bar means given. So this means probability they own an apple given that they're male. Okay, and that's how it would be worded on the quiz. Probability that they own an Apple phone given that they are a male. So what is our bottom number? 64, because it's only the males. And then Apple was 30 out of 64. That reduces, but I'd rather for your notes especially that you just leave it. I don't care on the quiz, you can leave it or reduce it. Can anybody help me with the next one then? What does this mean again? Yeah, female given that they own an Android. So what's our denominator if we're given that they own an Android? 53. And females was 19? Okay. I feel like we need to do one of those. Can I just make up a question? I think I have this on the review again tomorrow, but what's the probability that they are female or own an apple? The trick is that some of you added 61 and 72 together, but 61 and 72 double counts these, right? So female or own an apple, you just want to add up those three, okay? So if you do 72, 82, 91 maybe. I don't know if I did that right, but okay, yeah. All right, so that was just an example. It's not on your sheet. This is what I wanted to get to. Took me long enough, huh? But we need to talk about normal probability and binomial probability, or binomial probability. Sorry, I didn't read that right. We are not doing binomial theorem, which I hope we have time to talk about. It's kind of fun, but the soda company is printing prizes on the inside of their bottle caps. 3 and 5 are winners. So our probability of winning, of success, is 3 out of 5. If Tom purchases a 12-pack of soda, find each probability. Exactly 2 prizes. Okay, this is a binomial, it's labeled, okay, the section on the quiz, it's binomial probability, so don't get all worried. It'll say binomial probability, but we used binom PDF when it had exactly as one of the words. And then we used binom CDF, and that is something or less than so many, it adds down. Okay, this is a combined probability. But for this one, it says number of trials. So he bought a 12-pack, and he's eventually going to drink them all. The probability he gets a prize is 3 out of every 5. What's the chance that he comes out with 2 on his 12-pack? Would be binom PDF, and that is under second vars, but you do have to scroll. It's not normal PDF. You got to scroll up or down until you find that binom PDF. So just watch not just the directions, but what it's in the little box. It will say this is the section on binomial stuff. I already forgot 12 3/5 and 3 2. Less than 1%, right? 0.2%. 0.24. If we move it over twice, it would be 0.25%, so 1/4 of a percent. I won't be picky. At least one, probably, 1 decimal. Okay, exactly 5 prizes. So same thing, but change this to a 5. Binom PDF 12 3/5 5. Takes longer to write it down than it does to calculate it. I got about 10%, 0.1009 would be 10.09% or 10.1%. Either one I would accept. At least 10 prizes. Okay, this is where it gets confusing. So this is saying 10 prizes, 11 prizes, or 12 prizes are winners. So what we really want to do is add up all the prizes of all the chances of 9 or less. So if we find 9 or less, which would be binom CDF of 12 3/5 and 9, it's not PDF. If the question on the quiz is more likely to say 9 or less, but if we really want more than 9, we're going to have to find the opposite of it after we're done. So 12 3/5, 9 or less is this percent, which is 91.7%. But if he really wants 10 or more, then he needs the 1 minus that. I don't want to get a negative and confuse you. So 9 or less is 91.7, which leaves 8.3 to be 10 or more. So this answer, which is more likely to be on the quiz, was 91.7. But this answer would have been 1 minus 0.917, or what was it, guys? 8.3? Really good chance that he's got 9 or less winners, right? But at least 10 prizes, that's pretty low chance. All right. Then we have normal distribution curve. There is one that you have to label and shade. This says, it'll say use empirical rule next to it. If their mean is 27 and the standard deviation is 2, you will get to use the reference sheet. Okay. The ages of the 32 recruits in a police academy are normally distributed with an average of 27 and a standard deviation of 2. What percent of the recruits are between 23 and 27? So if that was the one I asked you to shade, you would shade in here. And you'd use your sheet, but this is 34 and this is 13.5. Is that correct from the standard, the empirical rules? So you'd add 34 and 13.5 and get 47.5%. What is the probability that a recruit is at least 31? This is where you really need to be careful, because we want to go all the way out to the end. So it's really safer to subtract what we know going this way. This whole half is what? 50%. Then this chunk is 34%. And then this chunk is 13.5. So if we subtract all of that from 100, are we left with 2.5? Otherwise, if you add up, I think the only number in our little sheet is like 2.35, isn't it? Or does our reference sheet tell you what's beyond there? Anybody looking at the reference sheet for this? I feel like the last number it gives you is 2.35. I don't think I asked that one that tricky on the quiz. Okay. Approximately how many recruits are at most 29 years old? So that means 29 or less, right? What percent would that be, guys? Yep, that would be 50% plus that 34% in that first bump there, which is 84%. But that's not the answer, because it says how many of the recruits. So we need to multiply by 32 recruits. So 0.84 times 32 is not what I got. 26.88, or about 27. If you leave it a decimal, I don't care, but since it's people, we could round to about 27. recruits. All right, then we have norm CDF. This is still normal distribution. It would be the same part of the quiz, and the question actually says to use norm CDF because it says there's a mean of 8.5 as the size of their shoes, right? And a standard deviation of 1.5. So if we added 1.5, we'd get 10, 11.5. If we subtracted 1.5, we'd get 7. It's not worth drawing that though, because do you see what it says here? It says between 7 and 11. 11 is somewhere in here, right? So we don't have the ability using the empirical rule to get a very good answer for this. So that's why it says to use norm CDF. And I believe it says the limits, right? Lower, upper, mean, and standard deviation is what it's asking for. So 7 and 11, where the mean was 8.5 and the standard deviation is 1.5. Those are, the normal distribution is second, VARs again. And this time we didn't ever use PDF usually because we don't want just one thing. We want everybody above or below or within a range. So for this one, I already forgot. Was it 7 and 11? 8.5 and 1.5, right? I have 79.4. All right, what is the probability the student will have a maximum shoe size of 9.5? So we want everybody less than 9.5? So like 0 to 9.5? I don't think anybody can have a size 0, but that's okay. It'll give us what we need. 8.5 and 1.5. Anybody get an answer? $74 point what? Anything close is fine. In terms of rounding, I did not specify. 74.8% would work. Okay. Approximately how many students, so this time they're asking us to multiply, were at least a size 6. So 6 and up. What do you want to call the maximum, guys? The old Hofbauer 999. 8.5 and 1.5. What is it? 95.2%. But then it was of 36 students. Did someone else get that? Oh, of course I can't. I have crap on my calculator, so when I go to do it, I get a mess. About 34 students. Anybody get that? Are we almost done or? Oh, but that's the last question, right? Is this the last question? Okay, so between an 8 and a 10 would just be 8, 10, 8.5, and 1.5. So norm CDF, 8, 10, I got 47.2%. Of 36 students is about 17. Okay. I definitely fixed this smart at some point and I don't know where it is. Okay. What you need to do, guys, tonight is the homework is Delta Math. there is a review to start on. You don't have to do the whole thing tonight necessarily, but it is assigned. It's not, it's worth points on the homework check. It's not optional. Review for summative 7. Okay, questions? We will